Okay. I'm Syd. I've been in the Filevine universe for about 6 years. Worked at Filevine and a law firm and now in partner space. So a lot of experience. I've done basics training quite a bit, but it's kind of nice. All of us do it a little bit differently. So hopefully, even if you've seen the basics before, you'll see something new just because we all have our own style. I will go ahead and share my screen and we can get started. Okay. And I'm gonna keep the Q&A right there next to me. All right, so when we log into Filevine, there's a lot of kind of what I like to call little housekeeping items that we start with that I think people should be aware of. So in your what we call hamburger menu on the top left here, you'll see quite a few different opportunities to navigate to different areas. I'm gonna kind of just start with the ones that I find most important and then kind of talk about best practice as well. So in your setup here, which you'll see the cogwheels, if it's not at the top bar, it'll be in your menu on the left-hand side, is where we have your username and your connection into potentially either Google or Office 365, which is Outlook. The reason I like to mention this is because when we're starting out in Filevine, you'll actually get a randomly generated username. And so I always recommend people jump into here and create a username that makes sense as simple as it can get. It can just be first initial last name, and then it does a cute little green check mark when you're done. This just helps create consistency for your guys' usernames as you're kind of working through the system. You're not searching for random usernames as you're trying to assign tasks. The calendar settings are really straightforward. You click on the one that applies and sign in. The nice thing about syncing a calendar is you can share them with other users in Filevine, and especially if you use the plugins, the either Google or Outlook plugin, really, really valuable tool. Notifications are really important because they are set for you personally. No one else can set them for you. You have to set them for yourself. So it's really important to just jump in here and see what opportunities you have to make sure we're not letting things slip through the cracks. So I like to go through every one of these as I'm kind of setting people up, paying attention to words like subscriber, because that it depends on whether or not you're a subscriber to get a notification. And I'll show you what that means later. So these are a really nice way to make sure you're being immediately notified of items via your email. There's also daily digests I find are really, really valuable, especially for attorneys, folks that are trying to get that kind of bird's eye view of what's going on in their cases. These daily digests become really powerful. The rest of the org stuff is kind of more for your admin team, so I'm going to kind of move along the top here. Project Hub is probably a space you'll navigate to quite often. It's a really convenient way to be able to see what's going on from your org perspective with all of your cases. The Project Hub has a lot of capabilities here as well, and I will mention it is one of the few areas in Filevine that has sticky settings. So there's a couple places in Filevine that has sticky settings, and what that means is if I were to set up any kind of filter here, let's say I just want to see the ones where I'm the primary on it, and then I navigate away and come back to my Project Hub, this filter is still there. It didn't go away, didn't disappear just because I navigated away from the page. I can even refresh the page and it'll stay. So this can sometimes trip people up. Don't let it scare you if you're like, where are all my projects? It's very normal. These are sticky setting filters. We can come here and clear filters, and then you'll likely see a whole long list of all your available projects. So we love the Project Hub for that, but also we want to make sure we remember that so we don't freak ourselves out. There are a lot of ways to filter the Project Hub. I think probably the nicest way to be able to do this is pin the ones that are important to you, because it's nice to be able to say, I always want to know what's going on with this project, so I'm going to pin it. So those always become available to you at the top. You can toggle pinned only. It becomes kind of a focused view. I also really like just being able to use these drop downs. Let's say you're only wanting to see what's going on with your bankruptcy cases. I only want to see what's going on with maybe my PI cases. Really great for those of you folks that have multiple templates to be able to narrow it down that way. Now, this doesn't really replace like reporting or anything like that because there's not an export feature here. It's really just a nice place for you to land in a space where you can see quickly, what am I going to do? What am I going to need to look at on my projects today? I think another really cool feature of Project Hub is just the fact that you can pull up your vitals. I love the vitals in our cases because it's a really nice quick glance at everything that's going on that's important to you without having to navigate into a case and trying to find it in a different section and all that kind of stuff. So being able to come to your Project Hub, quickly click on a case and then see the vitals, which this one doesn't have, so that's a great example, is just really powerful. It's hopefully reducing the clicks you're taking to try and find this info, and then it's just all right here for you to click through and see what's going on. As you can tell, Show Archived is also available. You're probably not going to use it often, but just as a reminder, it is a sticky setting. So if you do that, navigate away, come back, that's probably why they're showing. In this area as well, you'll see search for projects. It's very, very similar to the search for project bar up here. It's going to be based off some key point of information, whether that's a client's first name or last name, maybe their phone number. You can insert that in here, and you'll be able to pull it up based off that keyword. So much like this functions here, we would just put something like the word test and it would come up. If I did that here, I hit enter, exact same idea. It's going to give me a list of projects that pertain to that keyword. When we're looking at this button here, it's, as you would probably suspect, functions exactly the same as creating a new project in your hamburger menu right here. So same functionality, it's just giving you an extra button to be able to initiate a new project from your project hub. So that's Project Hub kind of at a glance. I really like this space. I think it's a great place to bookmark where you land. That way you always see what's going on. Another really great space to bookmark to land in Filevine is your tasks. Your tasks in your feed are going to function a little bit differently. I'm going to start with your tasks because your feed kind of opens up a little bit more. Your tasks, obviously, like it sounds, are the tasks that are just assigned to you. So you're not going to see here anyone else's tasks or even tasks that you've assigned to other people. It's not like that. Your task space is to see what do I have assigned to me and when are they due. One of the features of this area is that it has automatic filters. So it's automatically going to show you incomplete tasks assigned to me due today or before today. No matter what you do and you navigate away, or if I clear these filters, those automatic filters will always apply. So if you see, if I refresh, regardless. So just keep that in mind. If you know you have more tasks, kind of like Project Hub, you're like, oh no, where are they? Just clear your filters and you'll be able to see your full list of tasks. Now that quick filters are there for a reason, because we want you to be able to see the most urgent things at first glance. So that's why they're there. They also give you another optional of quick filters here. It's kind of nice to be able to see, all right, what do I have coming up in the next week? And then get a glance of that. In a lot of these areas on Filevine, you'll see these kind of boxes for different views. You'll see these boxes in a couple spaces, actually. You'll see them in collection sections as well. And it's basically just an opportunity to see Filevine in a different format. Your activity page does the same thing. So just in case you're ever curious why you see these in different spots in Filevine, it's just a view and it is a personal view. So if I were to come here and say I want to see my list view, it doesn't change it for the whole org. It just changes my view to see it in this version instead. And just as a reminder, this is the new tasks. If you aren't toggled with this on yet, it might look a little different. So if I were to toggle this off, maybe this is what you see. Same functionality, it just looks a little bit different. Maybe not same functionality, it's a little less functionality actually. So I actually really encourage you, if you guys are kind of wanting to continue to grow in Filevine, try out these new features that they have there. At some point, they're going to, I don't want to say force you, but they will push it forward to be the standard. So it's definitely something I encourage you to do. Get used to the newer ways that they're doing stuff as they offer it to you. You'll see the little toggles on the top of your pages for those. Okay, feed. So tasks, we know, just kind of encompasses the tasks that we are assigned to. Your feed is going to capture a lot more than that. What's your personal preference for viewing card? Oh, that's a really good point. I honestly like the kind of expanded view because it gives me a preview of the actual text, whereas like list view is going to be really truncated. I'm the kind of person that I want to see the important info kind of up front. So I prefer the condensed view over like the card view, which is kind of big. Although if you do like to be able to complete them right then and there, I can totally see that being a preference as well. I think it really more comes down to what are you looking at first? Is what you're looking at first the due date? List view is great. Is what you're looking at maybe the subject? Condensed view is great. Is what you're doing maybe coming in, you actually manage your tasks here instead of navigating to a case? Then probably that card view is best because it gives you a place to actually complete the task without having to click into it and make those changes. So good
Yeah, I
question.
use the card view just for that bottom piece specifically, I'm like,
Mm,
I like to be able to see who it's assigned to, the due date, and the ability to see the completed piece. In this view as well, you can filter to see other folks' tasks. So if Sid wanted to see all of the list of my tasks that haven't been completed, she can use that filter option or the assign to. The filter option is going to have a longer list of options. And look, I have tons of incomplete tasks. Sid would probably want to reach out and be like, hey, what's going on? You have a lot of tasks that are past due or that are due today. You know, we need to figure out what's going on here. And so this is a nice way for you to do that. And because again, I like to see who it's assigned to in the due date. I like this view, but you can always adjust it. And I think, Sid, in the very first view, you can
mm,
edit the columns very similar to what you can do in a collection section. So if you don't want to see like the tags or the got it, you can always remove those from your view. So this might be a better option if you're like, these are the points that I want to hit and I don't care to see anything else. You can make those adjustments in this very first view only.
mhm. And that was just this little, I love the hamburger menu. This little hamburger menu symbol here is where that configuration lives. And really good call out that actually I didn't think about being able to kind of hold other people accountable here in this task list. It's kind of an alternative to running a report every week. You can just pull it up in this list instead. All right. So the feed is going to capture more than just your tasks. Now, your feed can be affected by a couple things. Mostly, you're going to see the things that are assigned to you that have to do with the cases that you're on and that kind of stuff. You can go a step further and subscribe to a case. So let's say, for example, in this test project, I want to subscribe, meaning I want to see every change that's happening, every text, every note, every task, every document that gets dropped, all of it. So I can do that here in my settings by subscribing to activity in the vitals. Or if you prefer to work out of the team section, you can come here, find yourself and subscribe with this toggle. As you can see, I'm already subscribed. So the reason that that has changed the way my feed looks is because when I come here, instead of just seeing the tasks assigned to me, I can see everything that's happening. So I saw when the notes came through, when I sent this email in, and when I sent this text. It's giving me a timestamp of it, and if there's attachment associated, just a really nice overview of what's happening with this case. Much like your tasks list, you can obviously change your view. You can quick filter as well. I feel like this is a really nice catch-all, but it can get overwhelming. So my best practice here is only subscribe to cases that it actually makes sense for you to see all of those updates. You probably don't need to see all of your updates on every single case in your entire org. That could get really overwhelming. So instead, I would encourage you to only subscribe to those cases that it makes sense to see these updates and that maybe you're really managing. A case manager just messaged me today. She's getting subscribed to every case that gets pushed from lead docket to Filevine. Yeah, I believe that's an actual lead docket setting. If I'm remembering correctly, you can set whether or not the person assigned becomes automatically subscribed. If it's not in lead docket that's set, it might be a team setting. So a really good way to check that is in your teams itself. If we come in here, you can actually check whether or not you're automatically being subscribed. So if it's instead your case manager is part of a team and no one else in the team is getting those notifications, but they are, then definitely check this as well. Check to see if maybe this subscription toggle was turned on. Otherwise, it's probably a lead docket setting. And I can definitely send you some like screenshots on how to fix that if you want to email me. Good question. Okay. All right, so I was in my feed. I would say here too, just kind of best practice, like I said, don't subscribe to everything and just make sure that if you're actually going to utilize this as a way to monitor your cases, definitely take advantage of the got it area here. Being able just to say, all right, I've got this, and then it goes away from my feed is just a really nice way to keep it clean. Um, Tony has his hand raised, Jasmine.
Yeah, Tony, do you want me to allow you to talk or do you want to type in the Q&A? Oh, it looks like maybe he put it down. Maybe that was an accident. If you do have a question, feel free to type in the Q&A. You're totally good. I've done
No
that
worries.
before too. It's close by one of these other kind of options.
Just
One
want to
other
make
thing
sure.
about yeah, one other thing about the feed that like I've found might be helpful to folks. When you task somebody else to do something, that's not necessarily going to pop up on your task list. You'd have to filter and do several different filters. What I'll do sometimes is pin that task to my feed so that way I can easily find it and I can easily follow up. Every single user has the ability to pin items to their feed, and that's what shows up here in this like global kind of feed across the board. So you can do this with as many items. It doesn't just have to be tasks. Any of the activity items have the ability to be pinned, meaning it's always going to stay at the top of your feed, regardless of what else comes in. And if it's for a project that you're not subscribed to, right, you still want to be able to see the work that's been done on that. So pinning it allows you to still see it in your feed without being subscribed.
Mhm. Good call out. Love that. All right. Okay. I'm kind of briefly talk about these things on the top right here. You guys already kind of understand how to search for a project. I did just want to kind of mention you can include archived. So if you're consistently needing to go back through cases, I would just keep this check marked on just to be able to see any archived cases that you need to go and visit. If you search for a project and it's archived and it's not pulling up, that's probably why, is you don't have this check marked. I don't want to get too deep into search deeper, but it is a really powerful tool. I do like to open the options here. If you're ever missing something and you're like, I know it exists and I just can't find it, your search deeper option here is a way to org-wide search for something. So I don't want to get too deep into that, but just a really powerful tool if you feel like you're lost somewhere in Filevine. It's nice to use that.
And the search deeper is also accessible in that hamburger menu Syd has been going to. It's that search feature there. And if you're like, my list looks different than Syd's, it's in a different order, my setup is not there, you have the ability to configure down at the bottom so you can change it to whatever works for you. So for Syd, she's like, I need to be in setup every time because that's the most important thing to me. She's made that adjustment and made that kind of where her landing page is. You will have the same capabilities and options there as well.
Okay. Some of you may not have this billing timer up here if you don't use time and billing, but it is available for those quick one-off, being able to track your time. There is the capability to create activity. This is actually new. So if you see this and you're like, what the heck is it? It's actually a really cool way to add an activity item to a project without being in the project. So there's kind of two ways to pull this up. You can actually pull it up in the project by pulling it out into drawer. I actually included that in my Tip Tuesday video yesterday, if you saw it. But this is a way to kind of pull it up wherever you're at in Filevine. This can become really convenient when you're maybe running a report or you're doing something else in Filevine and you're like, I need to just write this down really quick. You don't have to navigate away from what you're doing now. You can pull up this create activity and you can do a note, a task, a portal message, which is for client portal specifically, a text message, or log a phone call. Obviously not make a phone call, just log it. So this is really cool. It allows you to attach files. You can do all your normal activity feed item stuff in here, and it will plop it into its project activity feed for you, regardless of where you're at in navigating in Filevine. So just a really nice, convenient add. And that's only been added, I think, the past couple months. So really nice little thing there that I honestly love telling people about. Your sidebar, I will say, I encourage you to explore this on your own. There are a lot of really cool things here that can help you, not only just the AI side of it, but being able to chat with your team internally. And Filevine can be kind of convenient. So I do encourage folks to explore this on their own. It sometimes can be really useful for your day-to-day work.
And even if you don't have AI, you can still utilize the Ask AI feature. It's just limited. It'll allow you to do like a 7-day project summary, or it will allow you to ask questions like, how do I run a report? How do I send a task or create a task? So you can still do all of those things, even if you don't purchase AI. Obviously, if you've purchased AI, the the options are endless for the Ask AI for the most part. So that's the only caveat there.
Yeah, good point. And then last year, I do want to mention resources. I feel like this is an underutilized little area. In this area, you can share your feedback if you've got a great idea. You can also look at their recent announcements, so things that they're coming out with, things that they're updating, and maybe little things they're resolving. Your status page is actually specific to you and your firm's what they like to call AWS shard. So if you want to know if there's ever kind of maybe something funky going on in the back end, the status page will allow you to sign up for alerts and it'll tell you, hey, and AWS has some slowage today, just be aware kind of thing. So not like that ever happens, but still, if you ever wanted to see, because we know software does its funky little things, it's just a nice way to keep up on its status. I think Help Center is probably the most powerful little thing here, just because this navigates you to the Help Center page or to their live webinars. So, not that I don't want you to come join us because I think we're awesome, but Filevine also has a lot of resources here that can be really powerful for you to help you on your day to day. Even little things like I forgot how to do this and that, we all do. Help Center is a great way to just go there. You search for your little keywords of things you need to find, and you can find an article that walks you through how to do it.
That's also where you access Filevine's live help.
Hmm. That's true. And I take advantage of that. Now that they're not just doing chat, they're doing live Zooms. Most situations in which they're just little like procedural things can get resolved within like 10 minutes. They're so good at what they do. So definitely take advantage of the live support chat. And I'm only bragging because I used to be on Fileline support, so I think they're awesome. Fileline University is the last thing I'll mention here. I do like beta releases, but I understand not all firms are like wanting to risk that. But if you do, it's cool. You can sign up there. Fileline University, though, is really powerful just because, as you may or may not know, this provides you a lot of courses in order to learn more than just, the things that you maybe learn from us. Say you want to dig deeper into a topic, Fileline University is a great way to do that. Okay. Let's jump into a real project really quick, just so we can spend some time talking about basics in a project. So a couple things have actually updated the past few months. So probably a great way to talk about that is just to kind of go from top to bottom, left to right. As you are probably already aware, we have our project names up here and they're editable. Something that's kind of changed over the past 6-ish months is you can now change your project contact. That wasn't true last year, so that is actually a difference in how the main project contact functions. Because you can only have one person associated as the official client of a case, we want to make sure we're putting the correct person in. So you can change that main primary or that main project contact, which is really nice. But as most contact cards work, you can label them properly. We want to fill in that information properly because our contact cards can often be the places we pull data from rather, into document generation. So as you're entering data into Fileline, also be making sure you're labeling your contact cards and filling those out appropriately. Do you have a link for the lead docket help in 30 minutes?
Yes, I just sent it over.
Thank you. I had no idea what you're talking about, so I'm glad you did. Um, you got it, Brad. Okay, so I will say also here, a really cool part of the kind of project overall is the ability to tag it. So you see it in two different places here. It's all the same thing. The vitals on the top and the vitals on the right, they function pretty much the same. I'll talk about the differences in a second. But the really cool thing about these tags, and I love the tags functionality in pretty much every area of Filevine, is that they become a quick way to filter and a quick way to report on things. So tags utilized in Filevine, I feel like can be a very powerful way to help streamline your process. So for example, this tag here can be used for me to then search for any project that is tagged #TE. I feel like this can probably solve a lot of problems with folks that are trying to, even in Project Hub, this becomes a really powerful way to filter for folks that want to see maybe high value cases. Maybe you want to see all of your mass torts that are a certain tort type, that kind of thing. This just really helps you quickly, much like vitals, quick glance at a status or something that's going on in a project, and then it becomes a way to filter and report very quickly on these things. So take advantage of hashtags here. Take advantage of the hashtags you can also use in your project contacts. Sometimes can help you take it a step above just labeling. Maybe we label, provider, but we want to add a tag of the specific provider type they are. This is just a really powerful way, like I said, to filter and quickly search for these kind of things. The last place you can do tags is your activity feed. I do feel like it's kind of nice in your notes. If you want a quick filter through notes that are hashtagged with certain things, that becomes a really nice filter in your activity feed as well. Your vitals, as you've probably noticed, can show up in two places. The top bar here, as well as the right-hand window, if you pop it up there. I would say there's no right or wrong way to view this. I think they're both really valuable. The caveat to using one over the other is this does have additional tabs. So like, for example, if you didn't use the project email address as a basic vital, you would want to snag it from the right-hand panel under the details tab, and there's the project email. So it can sometimes contain differences. I think the biggest one being in the settings tab here, there's just this area to subscribe to activity. It's a lot more convenient than going all the way to the team section, searching for yourself, and then toggling it on. So I think there is a benefit to that part, but otherwise they function really similarly. They provide you with quick looks at what's going on in the case and also hyperlinks to take you to the areas those vitals live in. So we love that.
If you have expanded vitals turned on, the vitals pop out that you saw is where you'd go to configure that. So you can see at the bottom of ours, we have that configure option. The banner at the top is not going to do that, but once you configure and pick which vitals you want to see, you know, as Sid mentioned, you can kind of do whatever. You can edit tags in both places, which is really nice. And the tag that you all are seeing is an auto tag. So this is something that the system is automating, but you can obviously create, regular tags. If you're an admin, you can create tags that have not been created. If you're a collaborator, it's gonna show you a library of the ones that are already in the system for you to use. Um, and then Sid,
What
there's a
colors? Yeah, oh, that's a good question. So, what you're seeing here is a hyperlink versus a non-hyperlink, basically. So because there isn't data present in these fields, I think it's probably why they're grayed out, versus the blue ones, which are hyperlinks. So I can click on it, it'll actually take me to where it lives in the project itself. That's true for on the right-hand side here. The blue is just the hyperlinks, whereas the grayed out ones don't take you anywhere. The client phone number isn't a place to navigate, it just lives in the contact card, right? So it's kind of why it's doing that. I'm pretty sure these pull from the team section as well. So that can sometimes be why they're not hyperlinks. That's a great question. But for the most part, it's just that. It's just showing you the difference between those that are static and those that are actual hyperlinks that take you to the area they live in. Okay. And then take you to the right here. You guys probably know what your phases are, but just kind of want to shout it out here. Your phases are a really powerful way to initiate task flows. So if you feel like you're maybe not taking advantage of the automated tasking and the, task upon task that you can do in Filevine, definitely take a look at how you can implement them into your phases. It becomes a really nice way to just say, okay, I know that when I'm in a treatment phase, every 30 days, I'm reaching out to see the status of their treatment. Why not just build an automated task flow for that based on this phase change? You should do that. Okay, back to the activity page. All right, so we see here, and I am using new activity. Again, if you don't have this toggled on, it might look a little different, but I'm going to use the new version because that is what we will all transition to at some point. So like you saw in these couple other areas, we have the same view changing here. We also have quick filters, much like we saw on our feed and our tasks, which allow you to quickly parse out what it is you want to look at. I gave a couple examples here just to show you what they look like, and you can tell by the symbols and also hover to discover what kind of item this is in your activity feed. So these are tasks, you can see here. This is an email, this is a text message I initiated, and this is just a note. So if you're ever curious what those are, hover to discover helps you. Another really nice thing about the activity feed here is now when we go to enter these items, unlike before where we were having to kind of do an at symbol meant a task and a plus at meant a mention kind of thing. While some of those formatting things still work, instead of having to do that, we can now toggle between the kind of item we want to enter. So it made it a little bit easier than having to use the special like asterisks and that kind of stuff to figure things out. I see now you have a customized email template. There are two options, request email and invoice email. If I have an invoice finalized and I want to send it to a client by email, how can I choose which one I want to use? That sounds like you probably need to look at your customs editor on the back end and see how it's set up for you and how the template actually works. Because it would just depend on the actual verbiage of what's in your email template. So that's actually probably a good thing to have someone take a peek at in your org with you. Just just a potential suggestion there. I don't know, Jasmine, if you have any extra responses to
No,
that.
that's really the only way for us to, without you clicking on the button, right, to know what kind of data is going to pop up is through that advanced tab. You might not have access to the advanced tab. That might be somebody else at your firm, but they
Yeah.
should be able to see kind of what those email templates are. If they're related to the like time and billing section, those also look a little bit different. But for any documents that you have, like if you finalized an invoice, there's a couple of ways that those can be sent out. Right. If you're using the client portal, you can send them out through there. If you're just emailing them, you can, attach or have documents sent over via email. You can also use the add-in, right? If you have Outlook or Gmail, which allows you to easily attach those documents to emails. So there's a variety of ways to attach the document, but as far as the actual button, you would want to do some digging because everybody's Filevine is a little bit different when it comes to those buttons and what actually shows up.
Okay. So as we're toggling through these different options here, there's really only a couple things I wanted to mention. The update in subject can be really useful. I think I mentioned this in my quick tip Tuesday, just because it allows you to see at a glance what the actual context of this note may be. I'm finding it really useful. I help quote for our firm or for our group now, so I'm actually helping make sure that we're getting out good deals to you guys. And part of what I have to do is make sure that I'm noting if it's been updated since the last time I wrote the note. And so I've been using these subject lines to really make sure I'm highlighting, hey, this was updated as of 11/5, just this thing here. So that when I save these changes, it reflects that in the subject line, makes it really easy to see what's going on. Text messages, I always mention this. um, so I love how it says Maple J. Serbson. I just think this name is adorable. So I went ahead and initiated a text message from this project. I responded to it as well. I mentioned this in my quick tip, but I'm going to mention it again. In a text string, and it even says text details, so you're not missing out. If you select write a reply and you write something in here, it is a text response. It's not a note. It's not an internal, notification for you. This is a text message back to your client. So please be cautious when you're going through your activity items and I'm coming here and I'm writing a note. Ooh, a note about this crummy guy doing crummy things. And that's a note for me. That's great. If I were to then write this and put it in my text message, I then be texting that to my client. So be cautious when you're using text strings. I also like to just say, pin it to the top of your project. That way you know where it is. It's not hiding in your activity feed and you're not accidentally writing notes on it. Um, okay. How do we set up for text to come into our numbers as opposed from our file line number, which may look like spam? So that's a really good question. In Filevine, there is a way to register your texting number that all of you should be taking advantage of. Now, you may not know this backend page that I'm showing you. So if you don't, tell your leadership. There's a place called org phone numbers in the advanced tools that allow you to register. And if you don't register, your text messages can come through as spam to your clients. It's the whole reason we built, or not we, Fileline rather, built in the registration process was to prevent that from happening. So what I would do in your situation is if you're not the person that can see this, check with your leadership to jump into the org phone numbers and check if you're registered. If you are and you're still seeing spam, you may need to port over the text number you're using. It may not exist in Fileline yet. That might be something that's worth looking into. They have a porting process that's really pretty easy. You sign in LOA, you send us your first bill, we port it over. It takes 2 to 4 weeks. I honestly think this is a really valuable way to keep it all in Fileline. So if you are using an outside text number, I actually recommend you throw it into Fileline instead. So to prevent this, to register not only the number, but then to be able to initiate text messages from the project itself. So it all lives in one place without you having to have a separate phone or anything like that.
And I usually recommend to clients to create a contact card in your phone or in Filevine, right? That has a list of all of the numbers that you would be contacting the client from, including the texting number, so that when you do text them for the first time from this phone number, it's not just some random number that the client might be like, oh, this is obviously a scam. They see your firm name pop up because you've already shared that contact card with them. And so they don't know any different. You could also obviously send it in an email, right? Like, hey, save this number. This is what we're going to be texting you from. And then that way, when you text them, it does show up. So you have a few ways to make it look less spammy. But those are just two. If you have lead docket, you can send that out at the lead level. That number, if you're texting in lead docket, is also different than the Filevine number. So again, recommend all of the numbers be put into that kind of contact card so that you don't have any issues.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think the warning them via email tends to help for sure. Cool. Great question though. It's definitely, I can see that being something that a lot of people might be struggling with. So definitely make sure your number's registered and like Jasmine said, warn your clients of what's coming through as well if you can. Okay. A task is pretty straightforward. They do have a subject line now, unlike before, but pretty much everything else is the same. I like the notified via new sidebar if you are taking advantage of that because it's kind of like an extra little check-in. It helps you stay maybe a little bit more accountable for your tasks that are coming through. I find that it popping up in my sidebar versus me navigating to my tasks every day is actually something I prefer. So maybe this becomes a new part of your process when you're doing tasks. Maybe not, and maybe you don't ever use it, and that's fine. I think it's really cool. So there is a new option for that to be able to pop up in your sidebar if you want those tasks to kind of alert you that something is due. Otherwise, though, pretty straightforward. You can add your time, attach your files, add your tags. I will always recommend adding tags to your activity items because, like I said, it becomes a really, really, really convenient way to filter.
And
Uh,
here it's automatically going to assign it to you and due on today. You can always make a change to that. You can either type the person's name in where it says assignee, or if you're used to using that at symbol and you're like, it's just ingrained in my mind, you can still use that in the body portion. And it will adjust or it'll assign it to whoever you've selected there. So you can still use that if you're just like, I'm a creature of habit, it just happens. You can do that route as well, but you do obviously want to make sure that the assignee and the due date are accurate before you send out the task.
Very good point. Good point. Okay. Um, the phone call is the last thing I'll kind of mention here before I talk about the open to drawer, which this isn't an actual phone call from Fileline, so just like we can't actually initiate emails from Fileline, this is just to log the actual situation. I like this because much like the billing timer, it functions very similarly, except you're in the project itself. Allows you to track kind of the phone call information, and then from there it goes into the activity feed, which I like, and is easily filterable. Last but not least, open in drawer. This is a new feature the past couple months. I like this again because it allows you to pop out what you're working on, navigate somewhere else in the project, even navigate somewhere else in Filevine. So this is the way to do it outside of using this little create activity. You can actually initiate it while you're using the activity page here by using this open in drawer button. So a really convenient way to keep working on an item while you're going through different parts of the actual project. Oh, you can change the project right there. That's cool. I'm like I'm just like so surprised by all the little things that I find. The filter is going to be really similar to what we saw in tasks and feed. It's going to pop up in this window and allow you to drill down more specifically on what you're looking for. This kind of becomes a nice way to apply specific, like I just want to see what happened last week, so I'm going to look at only last week's items, that kind of thing. Just a really nice quick filter outside of using these symbols. The summarize button is probably one that most of you are going to see. To my knowledge, does not require Projects AI to be available to folks. This is something Filevine's just kind of allowing you to have. I think probably because they want you to use AI because it's cool. So if you use the summarize button, it's basically just going to take it to your sidebar and summarize the project. It is kind of cool. It's kind of a nice way to dip your toe into AI if you're a little anxious about it. because it gives you kind of a nice little overview of, oh, this is what it's capable of, and this is what I can do with it. So kind of encourage you to give that a test. It doesn't hurt. And it's a nice way to dip your toe, like I said, into the AI world, which is not going away. So we're going to quickly talk about kind of the sections here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just to explain to you a static section versus a collection section, because you'll hear that verbiage a lot. Intake is the static section. It is usually a static section for most builds, and it means it's a one-page scrollable area that you can enter your data into. Static section. Versus a collection section, which is a collection of items. So you saw here it was a blank page. I come here to add an item, and then I'm going to track my liability in an item. I'm going to then track my health insurance in a different item, and it begins to create this list of items that's going on. Now, much like Project Hub, this is actually one of the only other areas where sticky settings are going to honor what you've set previously. So not only the view, which we've talked about in a couple different areas, excuse me, when you're in table view here, which I don't know why it's called table view, not list view. You have this little configure table view, which allows you to do pretty much the same thing. I don't need to see confirmation or liability or 1P or any of that, so I'm going to save it. And now it no longer shows up in my really long list of fields. That is a personal setting. It only adjusts it for you as the user, and it will stay that way as you navigate back to this insurance page across any of your projects. So as you're working through this, kind of decide what makes the most sense for you to see with this cogwheel. Decide what makes the most sense for you to sort by with this drop down and with this little A to Z, Z to A. It swaps when you click it. And the filters don't honor, they won't come back in the same filtering, but it is just a really convenient way to look for what you're looking for, especially in a section with a lot of items. Definitely worth using those filterings and being able to understand kind of how to configure this for your view so it isn't just a cluster of information you may not need to see. Other kind of important things to know about these sections is the manage section here allows you to toggle on and off sections. You may not always need to see every single section. And that's totally normal. During our beginning stages of a PI case, let's say, we don't need to see all of our litigation and pleadings, emotional, all that kind of stuff. So they aren't toggled on. Maybe later we do need to see them. So we come to manage sections, we toggle it on, we give it a save. I then see my litigation section here on the left-hand side. So nice way to kind of keep it clean for areas you may not need to see at the beginning stages and then hide other areas as you move along.
So there's a
Occasionally,
question.
yeah, sorry. Occasionally my configured settings in medicals gets reset to default. That is potentially due to cache clearing. I know that can sometimes affect your settings in here if you have them set previously and you go to like clear your cache, your browsing data, which you should all be doing. I'll show you that in a minute too, actually. Um, I feel like that sometimes kicks it out. Other than that, I'm not really sure. That's probably a good question for support because it shouldn't be removing, like, especially if you're configuring with the cogwheel, that should not be resetting, even on a cache clear. So that's probably a good question for support to just like take a peek at it on a live Zoom with you and just look at why it keeps resetting. Might just be a quick little thing on the back end they can fix. But that is a good question. Hopefully it's not changing your configuration here and maybe just your view, which can happen on a cache clear. Okay, was that it? Yeah, okay. The search here is going to function differently than your search deeper. So even though it looks the same, it does not function the same. This is only searching deeper in this project specifically. So unlike this search deeper, which looks across your entire org, this search in the project is going to look just across the project itself, but it does give you these kind of deeper looks at what am I looking for, a note, a task, a document, in case you've kind of maybe lost something. You're like, I know I dropped a document in there, I just cannot figure out where it is, but I know the name of it. Search for your project and you can probably save yourself a lot of time. I do want to briefly talk about the doc section because there's some cool things here you can do. The one I like to mention first off is if you're the kind of person like me where you want to be able to just scroll through your files, and in fact, I want one that has actual files in it. without having them foldered, you can in the filter docs area put a period, ooh, not a slash, period, and it will unfolder all of your documents for you. It tells you where they're at, so it does tell you the folder they live in if they are nested under something, but it just gives you a full list of your documents unfoldered. This can be really convenient if you're just like, again, trying to search for something and you don't want to dig through all your folders and your subfolders. Put a period in the search bar, it unfolders everything for you while still giving you an indication of where it lives. Another little search option here, again, as we kind of navigate to this, you just got to remember this is searching in the project itself. And it basically took that same search we saw on the left and narrowed it down to docs. It's the exact same thing. So you're just searching for a specific document in this project. If for whatever reason you just can't remember where you put it, and especially on cases where you have lots and lots of documents, that can be helpful. This area should also honor your settings. My hope is that it does. When you come here and you're organizing by most recent or name or view, these settings should stick as you navigate to different projects. And I just got and oh, Carl's recorded. Where can we access the recording after the call? Yes, they are recorded, and we will probably send it out, I think, right, Jasmine?
They're going to be on our website, so you can access that. If you'd like us to email it to you, feel free to email us so that we can respond back with kind of that attachment. But yes, all of our free help sessions are recorded. They're up on our website, and most of them are up on YouTube as well.
Cool. Okay, another thing I want to mention here that I think is really useful is being able to shift click multiple documents gives you different opportunities to do stuff. So multiple documents, doesn't like that I got a PDF in there, allows you to, it kind of shifts it from an asterisk, not asterisk, a three dot menu to a symbol menu. So the hover to discover is going to be really helpful for you here in docs section. So I've got these two documents selected. I can move them all together. I can share them together. I can hashtag them. I can merge them, all sorts of really cool stuff. But what I think is even cooler is if I were to control click, stop that. If I were to control click a folder, no. Stop being a stinker. And you can see here I've control clicked one folder. I can actually create a unique kind of share link. So let's say, for example, I wanted to create a new folder that is going to be client docs. And I want this folder to then be the place that my client drops documents to me. I can create a share link with this folder, and it's folder specific. You can't do this with a group of files. It has to be a folder. I'm then going to come in here and create a password and enable two-way sharing. Oops, only with a password. And enable two-way sharing. This means I can then send this link to my client. They can navigate to the folder in Filevine, not the project, just a nice secure AWS folder that they can drop all this stuff into, and then you will see it in your Filevine project. It is so powerful to do this with your clients. They can see any documents you drop to them. You can see any documents they drop to you, and it just kind of keeps this nice little two-way space for you guys for documentation clean. And sometimes people like that over like emailing or texting documents because it can keep it a little more organized. So I feel like it's a very underutilized part of the product.
You can also access the ability to share folders in the folder navigation. So there's like a little file folder right next to where you can filter. That's going to bring all of your folders. It's not going to show you any documents, but just the folders. You could click there and also create share folders, create subfolders, all of the same things. You can also do it or like create new folders the way that Syd showed as well. But if you're like, control is not working for me, I can't click it, it just keeps opening this up because I feel like my computer betrays me every chance it gets. So you can do it that way and it's much easier.
True. Cool. All right. Other than that, your doc section is really pretty straightforward. As you come in here and you're looking at different things, definitely look at your ellipsis options. There is AI document review available for some folks, but the biggest thing here that I think people miss out on is being able to directly send documents to VineSign, being able to note them in the activity feed. So let's say, for example, I wanted to be able to say, hey, Jasmine, can you look at this file? And then I would send it over. It created a task for her. It's going to attach that document. If I go back to my activity feed, I'll see it right here with the document attached. Oh, no, oh yes, where the document attached. There it is. I was like, where is Right there.
I know the
And
other
like,
view, it had it like at the bottom. It was easier to kind of see in the other
yeah, it's
view.
a little smooshy up there, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's okay. We like it. In the bigger view, it also, I think, shows it. Yeah, it does. So if you would like to just be able to see it, the card view expands that as well. Um,
And those same options that Syd was showing in that like 3 dot drop down are also available in the activity feed. So that little carrot is going to have these very similar. There's like 1 or 2 things that are not in that view, but very similar to what you're seeing there. So you don't have
yeah,
to go back to the doc section.
good point. Down carrot. That's kind of a little hidden one, but it quite often in Filevine hides other opportunities. So
Yeah.
definitely peek at those down carrots. That's a good point. And that's true for not even the activity feed too. So another good call out, Jasmine, because this is true for anywhere you attach a document on the file on the case itself. That down caret option is available for you. Very cool. Okay, we're getting kind of close to time. I just want to mention one other thing is that if you're ever experiencing funky things happening in Filevine, clear your browser cache. It is likely the first thing Filevine support's going to ask you if you're having issues in your Filevine, and I feel like it's a basic thing everyone should know. So in your browser, you have an ellipsis in the top right, and you should see the opportunity to delete browsing data. You'll also see the option for time frame, do all time. You are welcome to uncheck your cookies because if you're like me and hate getting signed out of everything, I don't blame you. But definitely do your browser history and especially your cached images and files. We're not removing anything, we're not deleting anything. This is just a web-based software, so it's caching a lot of information. When I delete this data and I come back to my Filevine, I'm going to give it a nice refresh, and you should hopefully be seeing things function normally. So if you're seeing some slowage, maybe things are loading funny, maybe you're like, I know I entered that activity item here and it's not showing up. Little kind of quirky stuff. Try to give your browser a cache clear. It can typically clear those up pretty quickly for you. I recommend doing it at least monthly, if not weekly, if you can. Um, that's kind of all I have though. Unless
One
Jasmine has
last
other
thing,
things.
Sid. Yeah,
Yes.
I get this, or I've been getting this question frequently from clients, and that's like, hey, how can I update my email or any of those things? Those are not in setup any longer. They are in manage my account. Every user has access to manage their account in the upper right-hand corner where your initials, or if you've added a photo, where your photo is, you'll click that manage my account. It's going to open up a whole new web page for you and you'll see some options. Now, most of you will only see those top 3 options. Syd has like super admin permissions, and so she sees some extra items there. But under profile, we can't change ours because we use SSO. But for those of you that don't, you can update your email there. You can also change the look. So if you're like, I'm a dark mode person, you have that option. Sometimes it does take about 30 minutes to reach all of your devices. There is like a disclaimer there, so keep that in mind. And then under security, you have the option to make updates to your password. So if your firm is not using SSO or single sign-on, you have the ability to update your password. And we recommend enabling two-factor authentication. Again, because we use SSO, they've like removed this page access for us because we don't log in via password. But for those of you that do, you can update those data points here.
Really good point. I will caution against the dark mode. It can sometimes hide things. Sometimes
Good
there
to
will be
know.
gray text that you like cannot read in dark mode. So just be careful. I
I
stick with
like the
classic.
classic. Yeah,
Yeah.
me
It's so calming.
too.
All right. Any
Awesome.
last
Well, I
minute
don't think,
questions,
yeah, and
Mara?
while we wait for those, Syd, thank you
Mhm.
so much for all of your expertise. I always learn something on these free help sessions, so hopefully you all did as well. If you're like, we would love to get a training like this for our staff, we do trainings as well, whether they're virtual or on site, we provide those opportunities, and all of those can be found on our website, which Syd is navigating to now, so thank you so much. I put some links in the chat, but this is kind of how you can navigate to them if you're in there freely. Under Optimize, we have a ton of, if you get additional products, right? You're like, Lead docket is great. We just got that. We implement lead docket, doc assembly. We do everything under the sun, Filevine and Filevine related. So feel free to peruse our website. Our pricing is public, so you can see kind of what you're getting into. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. Or if you're like, I don't need to peruse, I know we need you guys' help, feel free to reach out to us. Syd and I will connect you to the correct person to get your needs kind of met there. As I mentioned, all of these recordings are going to be on our website. They're under that Learn tab. And you can also view all of our future free help session topics. Lead Docket also does free help. They're in just a few minutes today. They're usually the first Wednesday of every month. So feel free to hop on that if you need to. And if you all haven't yet, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We put a ton of great videos up there. We get a lot of folks that review those videos quite a bit. So subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the nice updates that we put up there. And thank you all so much for joining us again. Syd, thank you so much for your expertise. And we look forward to seeing you all in a future free help session.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.